Hello, everyone. I have a question both for myself and for everybody watching. What is a god? What is a god that is separate from the one overall and all-powerful God? In Hinduism, we all have the idea that everything's a part of this one force, this one being that is God, this source. But the individual gods, below the one God, the ones who serve certain functions, how do they operate? And where do they draw their power? And what can we compare it to in order to understand what a god is? Not God in general, but a god. And it's really a hard question because a lot of different religions view gods in different ways, but we can understand them through the idea that they both draw on the power given reincarnation. If you believe in reincarnation, as I do, then you can understand that a god draws on the knowledge gathered from all the lives prior and has full access to that knowledge and memory, and has access to, and this is a different part, has access to the devotee's knowledge and memory. All those devoted to him or her, this God, this being, all their memories and devotion are gathered into a certain power source that this God or a God has at his or her disposal. And I'd like to compare it to an idea proposed in a science fiction novel. Now, this may seem strange, but both because it's science and it's fiction, but there's an idea that's proposed that really encapsulates the idea of a God's power, and that's the Dyson Sphere, basically created in a science fiction novel, Star Maker in particular, by Olaf Stapledon. And that was done in the 30s. I mean, he created that novel. He imagined this novel in the 30s. But the idea of a Dyson Sphere, what does it mean? Okay, his idea of a Dyson Sphere is that eventually a technologically advanced civilization will have to draw a large amount of energy from a star because other forms of energy will eventually run out, which seems sound to me. And a Dyson Sphere is a structure that one places around a star to gather the energy of a star, if not all, then at least most of the energy of a star, and that can be used as a fuel source for the technologically advanced civilization. Now, this is a very materialistic understanding of the Dyson Sphere, and that's what it was originally meant to be. But I'd like to propose that, and this is just a theory of mine, a hypothesis, if you will, that gods are very similar. That they not only gather the knowledge and information and power of their past lives to effect a certain mission towards a certain goal based on who that god is and what soul inhabits that god at the time before it falls or rises to a different level. It also, in my theory, gains and kind of gathers the energy devotees of that god provide. That, in a way, the soul and the lives and the memory of that god are kind of at the center of the Dyson Sphere like a star, and that God gathers that energy to further a certain goal, to further a certain mission. And that every god in Hinduism and many other religions, they rise or fall eventually. They don't remain static. But with all that in mind, there's a large probability that if this is true, that the Dyson Sphere is also around the faith and the devotion of devotees of that given god, of any given god, really, and that power can be harnessed for the goal of that god, for the function of that god, for the progression of the dominion of that god. Now, I don't necessarily believe in dark gods and evil gods, but this can be true of them as well. But, at face value, this theory might seem, okay, so a god harvests devotion and the experience he's had or she's had from past lives to further a certain goal. Doesn't that seem evil? And really, no, because because in my theory, the God is not taking away from devotees. It's simply harnessing the energy that the devotees willingly contribute. And it's not taking away the energy of the lives it's lived in the past. Human, animal, what have you. Demons, whatever. It's harnessing the truth, the insight, the understanding, all these lives it's lived pretty much emit. Because there's infinite potential in memory, understanding, and spiritual growth. There's infinite potential because that is the nature of the soul. To be infinitely expansive. To have the ability to expand infinitely because God is him or herself or itself, however you understand God, is infinite. In order to tap into that, it has to be a pure part of it. And that pure part can lead to the original source. And now the devotions of devotees. If I'm right, and there's no dark gods, there's no gods that purely want that power for the ego of that one god, assuming the ego still exists in gods, then the devotion of devotees providing energy for that Dyson sphere, that contained sphere around power, the power source that is a combined life and devotion gathered in one place for a particular god. Gathering that will further how a certain consciousness in every devotee and that God manifests. If that God is, let's say, the Divine Mother Kali Ma, then the motherhood, the compassion, the desire for transformation into enlightenment and various levels of enlightenment will be furthered by that God because that's what the energy is used for. In a different God, the energy might be used for something else. But even the devotees of that God, in my theory, and this is a theory that I came up with today, take it with a grain of salt, but even the devotees of that God will experience the energy transfer or harvesting that this kind of spiritual Dyson sphere collects. And it will be disseminated because the souls that devote themselves to a particular God, which harvests the energy of that devotion, basically are accepting individual souls as part of the one goal that this God has. Now, the Dyson Sphere has never been used in this way or described in this way, and I want to clarify that the science fiction author who came up with the Dyson Sphere, there have been other scientists after that. He wasn't a scientist, but there have been scientists after that who have valued this truth that a technologically advanced civilization would have to eventually gather the energy of stars in order to have sources for their activity, and that it makes sense. And I doubt Olaf Stapledon, and when he wrote the science fiction novel Star Maker, I doubt that he truly understood how valid the point was, or how far we would take it, how far we would take the Dyson Sphere theory. And I certainly doubt that him or anyone else has thought of this in a spiritual way, but I think that it's very valid when it comes to gods. I'm not sure if the God would necessarily be the Dyson Sphere, the outlying perimeter of the Dyson Sphere, or if the God would be considered the inside of the Dyson Sphere, the energy being harvested. But I do know that this seems like a very good theory that I've been inspired to transmit to you, as far as how a God works in relation to how a Dyson Sphere works. It makes spiritual sense if you believe in God's spirituality and generally the metaphysical nature of reality in general. Now, I really do hope that you've considered some of this, that you don't just think I'm crazy. If you think I'm crazy, feel free to write it in the comments. That's completely fine. But I'd love to hear what other people think, and please give me a like if this had any kind of interest spurred in you. Feel free to subscribe. I would love more subscriptions, and thank you for watching. Thank you very much.